Hello, everyone. Today's story is the United States Army Camel Corps. In the 1830s, the Army had thought about using camels. A project was thought of, but nobody had done anything about it. But in 1856, Jefferson Davis, then the Secretary of War under President Franklin Pierce, convinced Congress to form a Camel Corps. He obtained $30,000 to purchase camels to be used by the Army in the western deserts. It took 3 months to bring the camels from Egypt to Texas. 6 Arabs and a Turk were also brought along to assist in the project. It was believed that the Arabs would be good tutors for the soldiers, but it turned out they did not know anything about camels. The Turk was employed as a veterinarian to keep the animals healthy, and unfortunately, his cure for all ailments was to tickle the sick camel's nose with a chameleon's tail. Needless to say, in spite of several enthusiastic supporters, the first Camel Corps was also the last. The project's failure was not the fault of the camels. They could carry the load that was twice as heavy as those carried by mules. They were faster than mules, and they adapted to the high altitudes and cold temperatures easily. It was hoped that they would eventually carry mail to all areas of the United States. But the failure of the camel project was owed to the muleteers, the mule skinners who were supposed to deal with the camels. Camels must be treated with respect, or they will retaliate. But the mule drivers were accustomed to having to beat their animals to make them obey, and they refused to treat the camels any differently than they treated their mules. When beaten, the camels not only refused to work, but they spit foul-smelling cuds at the drivers and even bit their arms severely. Now, besides the camels' refusal to submit to the cruelties of men, they frightened horses, which bolted until they got used to the new animal. So camels were banned from public roads. Little by little, the animals that held such promise were allowed to escape into the desert, where they lived out their lives. On the side of those who attempted to establish the Camel Corps, and on the side of those who opposed it, there was much ado in the end that could have been avoided by careful planning at the beginning. That is the way it is with people today. We jump headlong into projects that someone tells us are good, but we haven't taken time to consider all the consequences. Anytime you're faced with a decision, consult with God first. His plan is the best. You can be confident He will never lead you astray, as He has a divine purpose in all things. The Camel Corps was a good idea, and as stated, they adapted easily. The problem was, it was the people who were dealing with them. They didn't understand. The right people hadn't been hired. The right planning hadn't been completely done. But even camels were used up until the Civil War. So you think about it. It was a good idea, but nobody followed through on what they needed to do, and they didn't stop and think and plan ahead. Remember, we all have to stop and think and plan ahead, and God's plan's always the best. Remember to pray about it before you start anything. And Matthew 23, verse 24 says, "Blind guides who strain at a gnat and swallow a camel." As you look at these pictures, think about it. You could have seen that as part of your history, but it's a little known part of history now. So remember, as you get ready to start a project, stop and think about it and plan ahead. Don't let what happened to the Camel Corps happen to you. Y'all have a blessed day.